Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. Listen to me, y'all. The story I'm about to tell you today is a Doing Time with Joe exclusive. You will not hear this story anywhere else. I don't care what podcast you listen to or what other platform you listen to. You will not hear this story anywhere else. It's about a young man that finds himself in the cell with one of the movers and shakers of the penitentiary, right? But, he quickly learns that everything isn't what it appears to be. Because in prison, that's what it is most of the time. You know what I'm saying? You get shown one face, but it's actually another, right? And that's what I'm going to be talking about in this episode. This episode is called The Penitentiary Kingpin, right? And you're going to have to pay attention. You're going to have to pay attention, and you're going to have to go on this ride with me. I know a lot of you don't like to do that, but this ride is going to be worth it. This story is going to be worth it. It's going to give you some insight into how this young man here that I'm about to talk to you about became the Penitentiary Kingpin. But I don't want to just get to when it was all just, him shaking the spot. I want to tell you how he became the Penitentiary Kingpin. With that said, I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the show, y'all. All right, y'all. St. John is his name, right? St. John's first day in prison was like everyone else's. He received a stern talking to from the prison guards, warning him of all the do's and don'ts in the penitentiary. But after a year in the county jail, he knew that their words didn't mean anything, not one thing, because, the inmates were in the prison. That's just what it is. Guards, people that talk to you when you first come in, it's all about show. And the guards were just doing that, to make him feel a certain way, right? But he knew what the score was, right? After orientation, he was told that he was assigned to Housing Unit 9, Cell 215, the top bunk. They got real specific with it. And the officer pointed him in the direction of the unit, and off he went on his walk to find his new home for the next 8 years. Now, he hoped that his cellmate was cool because he was tired, hungry, and just wanted to find a joint to smoke to ease his nerves after that long ride from the county jail. When he got to the housing unit, he took a deep breath and walked in. When he walked in, he heard the familiar sounds that you would hear when you walk into a penitentiary, right? Into a pod. And he thought to himself, yeah, I'm going to be all right. I'm going to be all right. Now, turning his head from left to right, looking for his cell, he finally locates his new cell. As he walks in the direction of the cell, he notices that he is being watched. And that's how it is in the penitentiary. But he stayed calm and kept walking. And this was a familiar experience for him because the first day that he was in the county jail, it was the same way. Everybody's sizing up the new guy. That's how it is. Everybody's sizing up the new guy to see what's going on, right? And he knew it wouldn't be long before he was approached by the sendouts in the building. The people that would come to test him. The people that would come to see what he's all about. All he could hope for was that he could make it to his cell and put his things away before they did it. But if not, oh well. He was ready for whatever. It didn't matter to him when it went down because he knew it had to happen. When he made it to his new home, the new cell, to meet his new cellie, he let out a sigh of relief because nobody tried it. He knew better than to just pull the door open or look through the window. So he knocked on the door and stood there until he was told to open the door. Yeah, who is it? The voice from inside the cell said. St. John leaned towards the door and shouted, I'm your new cellie. Suddenly, the door pushed open, and from the darkness of the cell emerged a tall, dark-complected man standing about 6 feet tall. Come on in, man. St. John stepped inside the cell. Without taking his eyes off his new cellie, he put his stuff down on the floor. His cellie said, you don't have to put your stuff on the floor. That's your stuff up there. He pointed to the top bunk. He pointed to the shelf. He said, man, put your stuff on the shelf and put your stuff on the bunk. He said, I'm gonna step out and give you a few minutes to get yourself together. I'll be back later. When he got to the door of the cell, his new cellmate turned back towards him, extending his hand and said, "My name is Rome." As they shook hands, St. John introduced himself. "We'll talk later, but for now, take some time to get yourself together." He stood there in the room, all alone, thinking to himself, so far so good. But he knew the drama was coming. That's just how it is. Ain't no free passes in the penitentiary. So Rome didn't return for another hour, giving St. John plenty of time to get his stuff put away and whatever else he needed to do, use the restroom, whatever. You know what I mean? That's how it is when you take that long ride. So when Rome returned, St. John's was fast asleep. After a couple of hours, St. John woke up to the smell of onions and peppers. Rome heard him moving around, so he turned to see what he was doing. "You hungry?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "You don't mind if I call you Saint, do you?" He's like, "Nah, it's cool. What you cooking?" "I got some beef stew cooking. Would you like some?" He looked down at him. His spider senses were tingling. They were all over the place. He knew this didn't seem right. This didn't feel right, because you just don't eat or break bread with somebody when you just meet them, not in the penitentiary. You got to know these people, because things can happen at any time and in any way. And putting something in somebody's food was one of the easiest ways to get them. So he looked at him, and Rome looked back, understanding the look that he was getting. He said, "Look, man, I ain't on that. Jump down off that bunk and let's have a talk." He said, "This is it." That first talk between new cellmates. He had been through it before, so he was prepared for anything. He just hoped that there was no surprises coming. St. John jumped down from the top bunk, hungry enough to eat a horse from that long ride on that bus. Rome served him up a big bowl of beef stew and crackers. Man, it smelled good. St. John, he sat at the table, because in the cell you got the table and the chairs connected by the wall. But Rome, he sat on the bunk because his bunk was on the bottom bunk. After a few hefty bites of the beef stew, Rome handed him a soda and proceeded to ask, "St. John, tell me about yourself. Who are you? Where you come from? What's up with you?" Right? So he didn't know where to start, but he didn't want to tell him too much, because he didn't really know Rome. He'd never heard of this guy. So he didn't want to give up too much information about himself. First and foremost, he assured Rome that he wasn't in prison with no messed up charge. And just so you know, a lot of people in the penitentiary, when you got a sex charge, you need to disclose that. So Rome wanted to make sure that St. John's didn't have that type of charge. That's what he was asking him for. So St. John's reassured him and said, "No, I got a possession and distribution charge for cocaine. They gave me 8 years. He said, "How old are you?" And Rome said, St. John shot back and said, "I'm 22 years old. So you'll be 30 when you get out," Rome said. "Yeah, I hope to get out before that with good behavior." So they continued to talk for about an hour. And then Rome hit him with the real deal. He said, "Look here, just so you know, I don't get high, but I do get money. I don't have people running in and out of the cell. I don't do boys. I mind my business. I see and I don't see, and I keep my head low and stay in my lane. I suggest you do the same. If anything goes down concerning anything I'm doing inside this cell, I take my charges. I expect the same from you. Are we clear?" "Yeah, we're clear. But I do like to smoke weed," St. John said. "I don't mind if you smoke weed in the room, but that's for you only. Don't invite anybody to smoke inside this cell." And he leaned down and he looked at him. He said, "Are we clear?" St. John looked at him and said, "Yeah, we're clear." So Rome left the room again to give St. John some more time, some privacy to prepare for the shower. Because after you take that long ride, you want to take that shower so you can lay on down and Rome knew he was tired because he had already taken one nap. You know what I'm saying? So he stepped out of the room, right? And St. John knew that, everybody wasn't going to be as cool as Rome, so he was still on guard. His spidey senses was still tingling. Something wasn't adding up here. So when Rome steps outside the cell, St. John is looking out the cell window, and he sees him up there talking to this taller guy than him. And they both are looking down at the cell, but he can't make out what they're saying. But what he doesn't know is that Rome is one of the movers and the shakers in the pond. He's one of the movers and the shakers in the pond, and he uses his cellies to move his dope. So he's up there having a conversation with one of his partners to try to figure out what is he going to do with St. John. He's giving them the scoop on what St. John just told him. So now St. John, he's breaking down. He's getting ready to get in the shower because, he wants to relax and, and call it a night. But he knows also that other than, when you use the toilet or you're sleeping, the shower is where you're most vulnerable. So he made sure to wear his boots to the shower because he felt like this might be the time. This might be it. Rome is put on that he's cool with me, but something is in my gut telling me that he's not straight. So as he's walking to the shower, his head is on a swivel. He noticed the seller was talking to a couple of older guys. He noticed everybody else was looking, watching, and he was waiting. He was waiting for whomever and whatever. Somebody is going to be watching. Somebody is going to try him. But nobody does. He makes his way all the way to the shower. And then that's when he starts to realize something is wrong here. Something is wrong. So he notices that everybody's watching. He notices that everybody's looking. So he's in the shower and he's calculating what to do. This is going to be the moment when I walk out of this shower that they get me. That's what he's telling himself. So he laces his boots up real tight after he finishes with the shower. And he opens the door of the shower and he steps out and he looks left to right just to make sure that he's safe. Now, Rome was sitting at the table talking to a couple of guys when he passed by him. Rome said, "Get yourself together. I want to introduce you to somebody." This was it, St. John's thought. This is where I get tested. I knew it. It was too good to be true, he said. I knew it. It didn't matter, though. Whoever came through that door was going to get it. All he could hope for was that it was only one person. If it was two or more, it could get ugly. The knock on the door. "You dressed, Sally?" "Yeah, I'm good." When Rome stepped into the cell, St. John's was standing in the middle of the floor with his fists up, ready to fight. Rome looked at him and started laughing. "What you got going on, Saint?" Saint said, "I thought you were sending somebody in here to test me to see if I was going to stand up for myself." Rome said, "If I wanted to test you, I would have done it when you walked into the building," while he was laughing. Rome motioned for his friend Johnny to come in. "Saint, this is my right hand, Johnny." "Johnny, this is Saint," Rome said. Still laughing, Rome started to tell Johnny what had just happened. Now both of them were laughing. "I felt like a fool." That's what St. John said. But something didn't feel right to him. He still didn't like what was going on. His spidey senses were all over the place. And before lockdown, he used the phone to call his parents to let his parents know where he was at and that he was okay and let them know about what just happened to him. They didn't think it was funny, especially his father. His father said, "Son, I've never been in prison. I can't tell you what you should or shouldn't be doing, but watch yourself. Watch yourself. Be careful. And do whatever you got to do to survive. And I love you." And as they both hung up, St. John's bowed his head at the phone and he thanked his father for those words. But he knew that if he didn't take care of himself, regardless if his father said it or not, he probably wouldn't make it out of this environment alive. So he got up off the phone and he went back to the cell. And he laid down in his bunk and he started to think about everything that had transpired. And he was wondering why nothing had happened. Why nothing had happened. Nobody is this cool, St. John's thought. Prison is a cutthroat place. If someone is acting nice, it's for a reason. I knew it. For my own safety, I had better figure out exactly what Rome is and what he's got going on. Because if I don't figure out who he is and what he's got going on, I'm going to have problems. That night, St. John and Rome both lay in their bunks awake, but for different reasons. St. John lay awake thinking about how Rome had treated him. He wanted to believe that Rome was the real deal, someone that wouldn't take advantage of him, but he knew better. His gut was telling him that he was in danger, and he wanted to pay attention to his gut. It had helped him so far. Rome, on the other hand, knew he had to think of something because his drug business depended on it. He was impressed with St. John because he trusted his gut. Rome and Johnny were about to rough him up, but when he saw him standing in the middle of the room ready to fight, he had to play it off. Now he regretted not putting a peel in the beef stew like Johnny had suggested. Oh well, tomorrow's another day, and he was certain things would be different. This concludes this first episode of Penitentiary Kingpin. Tune in tomorrow for another great episode. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.